now I've got this, I think. Anyway, so I did this a little bit ago on my computer, and it didn't really work. So everything was real grainy and distorted, and I don't really know why. But the nice part about using my iPad is I can see how much time I've been going, so that's a plus. Anyway, I'm not going to go ahead and shuffle the cards or anything for today's tarot, because I already did that on the first one, and I figure I've already done that. If anybody saw it, then it's like, well, what's the point? I'm just going to use what I had. Anyway, I'm Jan Erickson, and I host the blog Stepping Aside, and I do tarot readings and rune castings, and I do I put my videos on there. I talk about witchcraft, being an empath. I talk about all kinds of things anyway on the blog, so if you're interested, you can go over there to imsteppingaside.com and check that out. I'd love you to do that. It's kind of a fun place. There's a I have an Amazon storefront thing there. It's called a Witchin' Store. You can click on it, and or you can go up to the top at the little title things and click there, and you can go there and find some fun things I've got on the site. It just kind of helps support the blog is all. But anyway, I started this thing yesterday called Exploring Tarot. I have it's actually exploring my tarot decks that I own, because I own a bunch of them. I can't help myself. Anyway, I have a Google Plus community that I host also called Exploring Tarot. You can go over there and post your tarot readings or look at different ones that people are doing. It's a fun thing to do too. But anyway, today I'm going to use the Rider-Waite Tarot when I do the blog post, just like I'm using in today's tarot readings. Oh yeah, that looks a lot better. I hope it comes through. Like I said, on the computer it didn't, so I'm redoing it. Anyway, today's card is the Star. It's a card from the Major Arcana, and it basically illustrates the goddess. She's nude. There's looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stars above her head. It's the 17th card of the Major Arcana. Numerologically, it makes it an 8, which is practical matters. It's also strength. It corresponds with strength. The strength of purity, the strength of grace. She pours water from the pool onto the land. It sort of represents as above, as above, so below. It represents selflessness, optimism, healing. The Star also represents our intuition and our spiritual gifts. She is the blessed conduit between the spiritual realm and the physical world. But then so are we. The thing about the majors is what they do is they're basically soul archetypes, and they remind us of who we are as source. We are not the bodies we inhabit. We are in fact source energy, or the creator focused into form. When a Major Arcana card comes up, it's to tell us to remember that it's the higher self tapping us on the shoulder and saying, hey, remember me? I'm you, and so let's remember that today. It kind of represents wishing upon a star in a way. It represents the hope that we all want. Our dreams becoming reality. So for today, meditate upon the Star. Remember that you are source. You are your higher self. You are not the ego. You are somebody who is in control of what you manifest in the world. You're not here to react to other people. You're here to create. And so the Star reminds us of that. From the rune bag, I pulled Ansus. So if we were concerned that we might have, something opposite or something, conflictual from the runes for today's combination tarot and rune casting, we don't. Ansus is Odin's rune. Odin is a grandfather in my ancestry. I'm not one of those people that believes that myths are myths. I believe that the so-called mythos is actually our history. I believe that religion has done us a disservice to narrow our focus as to who we are, just based on what comes out of whatever book you happen to be reading. They've been changed so many times that I'm not sure what is true in any of them, so I just view all of it as history. But if you really want to get into who we are and how we got here and all of that, then I recommend the Book of Enoch. That's going to give you a whole lot of information that well, and if you just and even in the Bible in the Old Testament, it talks an awful lot about Nephilim and the heroes and the giants and all of that. All of that existed. You know, we didn't just pop out here. We were genetically manipulated by people who were visiting here. So people like Odin and all of the different gods and goddesses of the different pantheons, they may in fact be the same people, just different names moving around in different places, or it could be different extraterrestrials that were here. I think that whatever they brought here for us made us who we are today. The genetic manipulations that they did, you know, they brought mathematics, they brought astronomy, astrology, the healing arts. They brought everything to us and educated us. And so when we talk about Ansus, what we're getting with Ansus is the communication from the higher self. Now, you know, Odin hung upside down from the world tree from Yggdrasil, and he was given the runes by the Norns of fate to help him with spiritual enlightenment. That's the whole point of all of this, is to remember who you are as spirit. But Ansus helps us in our communications with others. It helps us to see others as the other side of self, as another form of spirit, as source presence in front of us. They're just other aspects of self. Everything that we see around us is that. Ansus increases our spiritual consciousness to make us aware again of who we are. It teaches us to look at all angles and to channel the higher self. Not everything is as we see. You know, if we look at things in a way through eyes of judgment, and we don't see through source vision, then what we end up with is a bunch of judgment that doesn't mean anything. In the broader scheme of things, we create what we see. So even though we have other people around us, they're also creating what they see. Now, if we could all see things as source energy, as source presence, then we might get along better. When we react from ego, you know, pretty much it can all go to hell in a handbasket very, very quickly. So Ansus helps us to remember that whatever comes out of our mouth matters. Is it the voice of spirit? Is it the voice of ego? You know, who are we? What I like about today's tarot and rune selections, I guess, is that it comes from spirit. It comes from us as spirit. So as we go about today, why don't we think of ourselves as source energy, as the higher self, and forget about reacting in judgment to other people. If things are going on around us that are unpleasant, let them be as they are. You don't own it if it's not yours. If it's not coming from inside you, then you don't own that. So avoid engaging in any kind of a way that reflects ego, even if it just means, you know, sometimes silence is the greatest communicator. So you don't have to react to everything that's going on around you. Lots of things are unpleasant. Let them be what they are. It doesn't have to affect you. Avoid the notion of he made me upset or she made me upset, because it's not true. Someone might be doing upsetting things, but it doesn't mean that you have to get upset about it. It's more important to remain centered and to remain in that, give and take, as above, so below type of experience, aligned in that source presence, so that you remain calm and happy and joyful and at peace. I know that's hard to do with everything that's going on around us in the world. There's a lot of very odd influences now that tend to put a lot of people on edge. That is of this world. That is not of spirit. None of it is. And so if we react on that level of ego, then I think we've pretty much lost. I think the only way to get through all of this is to remain aligned in spirit, to be aligned in who we actually are. So we're not falling down into that rabbit hole of ego and egoic response. Even living in the present moment now is challenging. So I would say then step out of it, Stay in alignment with source energy, stay in alignment with your higher self, with that vibration. And focus on things that are non-controversial. I'd say go out and work in your garden, but that's not always controversial, at least not around my home. It's like, oh my God, how did that happen? So I think for today, then, I think what the star is telling us is to live in hope, to live in love, to live in joy, to live in spiritual alignment with higher self energies, to be honest and authentic and open. Do that for today. And with En Sus, make your communications holy and full and filled with spirit. Let others know that when they're speaking to someone, that they're really speaking to the voice of spirit. And then have a really lovely Tuesday. I think if we all remember who we are, we can't miss. Can we? Blessed be. Let's see if I can turn this thing off. Are you sure you want to stop streaming? End. Yes.